Yo, I'm back with my yearly games list. Wow, so late. And wow, what a year 2024 was. A lot happened to me personally, and also there was a lot of stuff that happened around the world too. Yeah. Listen, I feel for a lot of y'all. The only thing I can say is hold on to any small amount of hope you have. Whatever can get you to see the next day is powerful, and don't let the apathy and helplessness rule you. Okay. As far as video games, there were more layoffs than 2023, Game Informer was shut down by GameStop, Nintendo saying they won't announce any Switch 2 stuff for every post and direct they did, more live service games being unalive like Concord and X Defiant, a PS5 Pro console with a disc drive sold separately, everyone has an Xbox, and everybody's made their own handheld PC. 2024 was a big year for me personally. My daughter was born and I became a dad. So I'm gonna do that father, husband, fearful all gods bio update on my socials now. It's weird now being a parent. I gotta get used to how all of this works. But my main priority is making sure my daughter knows how to use a game controller. She would not play Fortnite or Minecraft with touchscreen controls. So while I was learning how to be a dad, I took a break from video games, but I still managed to play 30 something odd games this year. So yeah, that's not bad, I'd say. These are all the games I played in 2024. I played a few older ones cause I gotta somehow get through to my backlog. The actual rankings don't really matter until like top 15, I guess, but the tiers should give you an idea of how I feel about a particular game. Oh, and I do count the games that came out during 2024 a little more to make it balanced, I guess. I don't know if it makes sense, but well, it's my list. Also to know, there's not gonna be any explicit spoilers, but there might be some visual ones because these are just my footage, so be warned. If you disagree, please at me. If you like my video, I can promise I'll make another video eventually, so like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I got some ideas cooking, but I also have this little troublemaker, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, in the spirit of my favorite Mario video game,
we gotta find the princess. And you gotta help us.
Let's go! Let's start off with this one. Crisis Core isn't a bad game. Just like, nah, I'm not playing this anymore. I got like 5 hours in before I decided to just watch a YouTube playthrough of the rest of the game. This voice before every single fight was annoying as hell. But yeah, this was a stinker, especially considering other games in the series I played, which I'll talk about later. Well, here's my yearly game that no longer exists. And it's a Platinum Games one. World of Demons got delisted in January 2024, so I played as much as I could at that time. It was alright. Obviously a game built for mobile and touchscreen, but now it's in a digital afterlife. I guess you could watch some YouTube videos of it, but it was just some generic action game that's now vaporware. Ugh. I haven't played a football game since ESPN 2K5, the greatest football game ever. Madden 25 is pretty okay. I don't know, I'm not really into how there's like 1,000 modes, and I'm not even sure where should I start. It's fine. Don't even listen to my opinion on this because I'd imagine it's just like some small update from previous Madden games, like most sports games out there. Also, it's not the best football game I've played this year. Want to have a stressful gathering with friends and family, but maybe also have some chaotic fun? I've never worked in a restaurant kitchen, but I'd imagine Overcooked 2 is pretty much a one-to-one recreation of that feeling. You know, the customers being idiots and your friends screwing up orders like all the time? Yeah, shaking my head. I played this game on the GameCube back in the day and I loved it. Playing the remaster made me kind of wish I didn't play it again. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door for the Switch is not a bad game, but it does feel a little dated. Just a little. There's some quality of life improvements here and there, but not enough for this remaster to shine. The action and story progression is sluggish. Case in point, the classic gladiator arena fight sequence. You have to go through each fight one by one through the dialogue, menus, and prompts. What could have been a 15 to 30 minute sequence is stretched to feel like an hour, hour and a half. Pile on these little nitpicks and it's more tedious than fun. The upside, this is still Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. The writing and characters are still charming and wonderful. It's still a hilarious and whimsical Mario RPG game, and it's pretty easy to play through. As a tip, just focus on upgrading badge points. The badges are what makes the combat shine. Here's a really short but sweet game. Castaway is a copy of the top-down Zelda formula, and it actually works as someone's first for this type of game. There's also a rogue type tower mode where you can just go through many levels fighting enemies. You can beat the game in like less than an hour if you want to have like a sweet palate cleanser of sorts. Here's the better football game. An Apple Arcade offering and NFL Retro Bowl is the best football game of the year. It's rather a little simple as far as mechanics go, focusing on throwing or running the ball with simple gestures. The side part of the game is building up XP for yourself as the head coach, players, and the team as a whole. It's fun and a pretty good way to waste your time on your phone. Venba is more of a visual novel, but it does have light cooking / puzzle mechanics at times. It's the classic story of first gen culture clash with their immigrant parents, but told through the best part of any culture: food. If you want a positive and uplifting game, this is the one to play. Venba is so touching and is an example of how video games are unique narrative vehicles for stories. You want another chaotic fun time? Chained Together is perfect for cooperative gameplay and yelling at your friends for something they didn't do. You're just chained together in hell and you have to make your way up by some wonky platforming. It's also the perfect game to blame someone for your mistakes too, since the controls are janky as hell. But hey, you're playing this for fun, right? Mirage Feathers is kind of my game of the year. It's perfectly fine, but I kind of forgot about it. It's a shoot 'em up rail shooter that does look really slick. Now that I think about it, it's really well designed with a hectic gameplay. I probably played this game too close to other shoot 'em ups that are on this list, but maybe I'll give this game another shot sometime soon. I played Overwatch on and off for a few years now, and Marvel Rivals is the hero shooter that might replace it. There's quite a bit to love about this game. The IP is undeniable, and overall, it's pretty solid. It should thank Overwatch stats for sure, but just like any free-to-play live service game, it can live or die based on how they handle the updates and get the player base to still be engaged. There's some jank to Marvel Rivals, but nothing major that will stop me from playing with my bros. One shot, 10 kills? The premise of Children of the Sun is it's a puzzle game with a bolt action sniper rifle. You start off finding a spot, shoot, and then with some gameplay magic, you control the single bullet to go through the heads of all the enemies within the level. The difficulty raises as you progress, of course, so enemies would be behind walls, doors, or wearing armor, so figuring out the best paths is part of the fun. One of the more unique games this year and definitely worth a play. Outlast Trials is where you do these runs to complete objectives in a mission. The real fun happens when you immerse yourself into the horror. Playing the way it's intended, you can feel the intensity and hear yourself screaming and running from the digital monsters. One of my favorite moments of the year is yelling at my friend for unlocking a door to let a monster in, but it turned out to be it was just the game playing tricks on me. There are other moments where stress and anxiety can build within yourself, and that's exactly how a horror game can succeed. Getting chased and working against the clock is not for everyone, but if you enjoy that kind of experience, grab some friends and play the Outlast Trials. I used to collect Pokemon cards when I was a kid. I wish I bought a lot of cards and kept them back then though. But that feeling of opening up a mystery pack of cards and getting some ultra rares never gets old. Pokemon TCGP is a great way to recreate those moments. It's free, but it does have the gacha mechanics built in. You can open 2 free packs a day, but unless you have restraint, it's easy to fall into that trap of paying for the opportunity to open more. The other cool component is Battle, which is a streamlined version of the physical card game. You can battle against the computer or people online. There's meta over what's the best strategy and decks to win, so at one point, you'll see that dumb psychic decks over and over again. Overall, Pokemon TCGP is a worthy enough game to do the dailies and open some cool cards. If you want to get sucked in on the gacha stuff, well, they got you. Hey, listen, I'm a dad right now, all right? Let me have this. I love System Erasure's Void Stranger, so I had to check out their first game. ZeroRanger is an action-packed shoot-'em-up filled with secrets and weird nuggets. It's fun as hell and super polished. Also, the music is so incredible and it just gets you going. This ranking is probably unfair. I basically only played the first dungeon and then I realized, wait, this is an 80-hour game. I'm at a point now where I can only play it for about an hour at a time, and playing Metaphor Refantazio doesn't feel like I get a whole lot out of that hour. There's deep mechanics and systems and a lot of story with this game. I can't really get into it by playing in short bursts, but from the quote-unquote little I played, it's brimming with swagger. The action is fast-paced, the animations are gushing with style, the music is intense, it has everything going for it to be an amazing experience, and I'm sure it is. I just wish I had more time dedicated to playing it. I'll come back to this. Also, Metaphor Refantazio isn't the worst name on this list. Ori and the Blind Forest is a super solid Metroidvania. probably one of the more underappreciated games within this space. The real fun is the platforming, especially at the end. I definitely enjoyed it. Uh-oh, I played this game and it's down over here? I love the idea and story of Balatro, a game made by a solo dev, sold millions of copies, up there with Game of the Year noms for many people. The game itself is pretty good. A roguelike poker deck builder is easy to grasp and fun to play through. This ranking is not indicative of Balatro being a bad game or lesser games than others. I just don't have the same affinity for rogue games as others have, but I definitely enjoy my time playing it. This is the worst title. It's a generic video game name from like the 80s. And that apostrophe? Come on! But this is really an adorable mashup of shooters and Zelda. Minishoot Adventures, is well made and polished. The bosses are fun, there's a right amount of secrets and puzzles, and it feels refreshing for such a classic gameplay loop. It's as solid gets. Playing a dual stick shooter while going through dungeons is pretty neat. It's challenging and fun, and you won't go wrong playing this game. And animal well, you make sure the animals are well. I think this game is a unique gem. There isn't really a sense of hand-holding, so any progression is from your instincts and experimenting with whatever you have and whatever you see and notice. This game is very dense, both from how much is packed in each area and how much you have to think about to have any sense of momentum. It is intricately crafted. One of the best, more than meets the eye kind of games this year. The only drawback for this game is you have to be in the mood for its gameplay. There's gonna be a theme you'll notice soon enough. Final Fantasy VII is the first Final Fantasy game I've ever played, and well, I'm not a fan of the series. This is the oldest game I've played this year, and while some mechanics from the PS1 era are still a little outdated, I still was engrossed by the gameplay and storytelling. 7 is the true definition of an epic, spanning across the whole world, traversing through deep underwater and launching into space, fighting evils of all sizes and making friends from all backgrounds. There are highest of highs and lowest of lows scattered within this world. This OG is worth a playthrough if you have the tolerance for it. Grunn is an intriguing indie. It's a puzzle game that blends the surreal with this time loop mechanic. Your basic job is to cut the grass, water the flowers, and clean up the garden within 3 days. But, and there's always a but, there's weirdness afoot. There's an air of mystery over the entire map, but also it doesn't take itself too seriously at times. One of the endings is just you having a picnic outside of time and space. Grunn is worth the pickup, especially if you like time loop puzzles. You think I'm not gonna play a brand new Zelda game? Get out of here. Echoes of Wisdom is a very good Zelda game. It's funny since this is actually the first one in the series starring Zelda. The twist is the unique gameplay style where you play more as a conjurer necromancer, summon all types of creatures or random items to fight enemies, solve puzzles, and complete dungeons. This entry is part of a new age of Zelda games, prioritizing player freedom rather than linear progression. Echoes of Wisdom is considered a nice bridge between the classic dungeon formula and special items age, with the new open world sandbox era that started with Breath of the Wild. It's a solid effort from Grezzo. I only have 2 faults though. The game is pretty much solid. There's nothing wrong with a solid game of course, but it does feel shallow compared to other Zelda entries. It has its moments, but then it faded away due to just being a pretty basic game. It's missing that wow factor from other Zelda games, but that could be forgiven if it wasn't for number 2. This UX is egregious. You are going to have a lot of summons, and they have not resolved the issue from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with being able to select a summon in a friendly way. I can understand menus being part of the main gameplay, but I don't like going through the entire catalog 2 or 3 times to find something specific. Echoes of Wisdom is still a solid enough game, and seeing a 2D outing with a playable Zelda does make me happy. Mouthwashing is grotesque. The game starts with a statement, "I hope this hurts," and the mechanics, story, art style, and themes all work together to ensure the message is loud and clear. This game hurts. It hurts to play at times, and it hurts to look at. The twists and turns, uneasiness, and anxiety crawl through each frame. Mouthwashing is a psychological horror interactive experience worth the playthrough. It's short enough to absorb in one sitting, and one of those games that just gets better when you think about it or talk about it. I'm hoping you understand the theme now. 7 Remake is part 1 of 3 of a remake of one game from 1997. And as a new fan of the series, wow, where has this game been all my life? The shining stars of Remake are the characters and combat. Seeing the 3D reinterpretations of Cloud, Barret, Tifa, Aerith, and others is pure joy. And the combat is incredible, a perfect combination of real-time and turn-based action, and you can play it however you like. Fast-paced with special actions mapped to buttons, or take your time and constantly switch between characters. There are obvious faults like so much filler content, but then some fillers are better than others. Like this musical dance sequence is just mwah. Let me talk about this game and series more later. Of all the multiplayer games I played this year, this is the one. It is brimmed with flash, monster energy drinks, and arrogance, but man, it feels so freaking cool. The simple premise is teams of 3 battle each other to cash out a bundle of money, and first to the limit wins. The magic of the finals is how these battles play out. The maps are thoughtfully designed with great verticality and littered with items. The weapon loadouts and items all seem to have a counter. There's a random in-game event in every match, changing up the flow. Put this excellent game design and combine it with chaos and tight windows of opportunities, and you have serendipity. You can blow up the cash box from underneath the floor. You can fortify a room with foam and mines and then burst through the walls if you need to bail out. Jump pads, rockets, invisibility, sliding, sledgehammers, poison gas, fire, katanas. This game has whatever tools you want and need, and they all feel so good and are useful. The level of fun is outstanding, and it's all free to play. Money is only for cosmetics, and I can't lie, there's some really great stuff out there and amazing animations as well. Every match plays out differently, so there isn't a lull other multiplayer games may have. What really sets this game apart is how you can always feel like you should be experimenting. The opposing team controlling the cash box, and you need to use every trick you can think of to steal it back. I highly recommend trying out the finals. If you can play with friends or jump in with people from some community, it elevates the experience to see what the crazy cool stuff that you want to try out. Shadow of the Erdtree is a humongous update to Elden Ring. There's more weapons, more locations, more dungeons, more enemies, more bosses, more secrets, more lore, more characters. The beauty of this DLC is just it's more Elden Ring with added poise. Let's have the most oldest, baddest dragon. Let's have the secrets be more secretive. Let's have the swamps be more miserable. Let's have the hands just be more awful and give them more backstory. Let's have the bosses be way more extravagant. FromSoft took the lessons they learned from Elden Ring and then added oomph to the DLC with style and confidence. I can see why people have this DLC as their game of the year. It's a fantastic update and so worth the playthrough. It's also probably the best part of Elden Ring 2. Astro Bot is a celebration of PlayStation. It's also a great video game. This is the 2024's video game. The platforming is tight, the gameplay is easy and a joy, the music ranges from catchy to jaw-dropping homage to a freaking film composer, Ennio Morricone. Do you know why so many people love this game? It's because it's a video game that is pure. There isn't a waste of space or mechanic. The pitch for this game was, let's make a great video game from start to finish, and that's what Astro Bot is. This is my surprise of the year. Make no mistake, Nine Souls is the 2D Souls-like that gets it right. Usually at the start of a boss fight, it feels impossible due to fast movements and aggressive combos. But after studying the moves and patterns and getting the parry timing down, you get a great satisfaction knocking them down. The story is also deeper than expected and plays out well in my opinion. But again, the real star is the boss fights. Play this game. Unicorn Overlord is incredible. The magic for this tactics games is twofold, implementing real-time strategy to an extent and organizing fighting units with up to 5 characters. These two parts really change up the tactics formulas and sets it apart from probably the biggest influence of Fire Emblem. The team dynamics are super important and you can mix and match how you please. The encounters range from bite-sized skirmishes to well thought out huge battles involving 30 or more characters. There is a very, very deep battle system within this game. At times it's overwhelming with how many classes and characters are stuffed here. Not to mention, this game is packed with a lot of battles, side quests, and story. It's a little overstuffed, but if you can find your rhythm and feel, you'll have more than enough fun playing this game. The animations are crisp and clean, and the tactics gameplay gave me that feeling of one more battle every game session. Oh, this is a phenomenal game. I've marathoned Final Fantasy VII games because I was hyped on Rebirth, and the journey through those games were amazing. The original is a classic, even to this day, with its gameplay and incredible epic of a story. The remake's gameplay was refreshing, and while the story was stretched, it was interesting to see the direction this remake series would take. And Crisis Core Reunion exists, so no surprise, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is my game of the year. If Astro Bot is this year's video game, Rebirth is the video gamey game of the year. It has an insane amount of music, there's an obscenely large amount of minigames, the plot is one of the most convoluted anime storylines out there, and it's the second part of a trilogy of a remake of a single game from 1997. There are obvious faults, no doubt. Those shortcomings are valid as hell. The open world is generic, and some side quests are bad. There are so many mini games, the box throwing, and there is an undeniable amount of filler content distracting from the main story. All of these factors would sink any other video game. But Rebirth feels so amazing, warts and all. I don't know what the production budget and resources were for this game, but my god, you can feel it every single second. There were dedicated people who worked on this dog song. And this animation sequence. And these boss fights. And all of these mini games. Marathoning through Final Fantasy VII, then Remake, then Rebirth was a long but rewarding experience. Rebirth takes the ideas from Remake and quadruples down on it. The combat is tighter and crazier than before. There's 1,000 more characters, and they all get their moments to shine. It's a roller coaster of entertainment, emotions, and grandeur. I don't doubt there are better games on this list than Rebirth, but those games don't have Cloud, Tifa, Barret, Aerith, Yuffie, Red 13, Kate Sith, Sid, and Vincent, and a billion other characters. Those games don't have Queen's Blood. Those games don't have the amazing action combat against godlike monsters. Not often do you get a chance to play games where it feels like thousands of people's hearts and souls were poured into it. Not everything was going to be perfect, but the details are so intricate and purposeful. I enjoyed Rebirth because it's pure ecstasy, wacky, full of love, and full of hope. And now, I'm patiently waiting for part 3, Final Fantasy VII Refantazio.